morning, and pass it over to you, Katherine.
Thanks, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the session that we're presenting on visualizing math. So I'm a portfolio manager for math and statistics with Pearson Canada. I'm joined today by my colleague, Melody Vincent, who's a digital learning manager, and Euan White, who many of you know as our marketing manager, unfortunately expresses his regrets. He was unable to join us this morning, so I guess you're stuck with me as your presenter. Melody will monitor the chat, so if you have questions during the presentation, feel free to pop them into the chat. And we've left some time for questions at the end, so we'll address anything in the chat, or you can come off mute and ask your question as well. So with that, let's get started. So we're going to talk around visualizing math, but first I just wanted to briefly level set and talk a little bit about the teaching and learning challenges in college math, which I think you're probably all very familiar with. So we often do surveys of instructors, and these are kind of the 5 main challenges that consistently come up when we do those surveys. Around preparedness, there's a lot of discussion around students kind of being overconfident going to the courses, but may not have understood the content, when they've done it before, may have forgotten critical concepts, and they're kind of not coming to class prepared to tackle what you've planned to cover that day. Challenges with visualization and conceptual understanding and conceptual learning, goes beyond just being able to plug numbers into equations and getting the right answer. It's to understand what's going on graphically as well. So that's the visualization component that students, often struggle with. And, we've had courseware for a long time that we can do the equations where students plug in the numbers and get the answers. But the other piece is that visual application piece. And so that's what we're addressing with what we're investing in with our courseware next. Students also need to be motivated to be actively engaged in the class. I think it's pretty clear, a lot of research has shown that students don't learn well just by watching or listening. They need to engage with the content, they need to practice. And I think, with study skills, maintaining skills, most students start out with good intentions. They're going to do the homework. They're going to come to class prepared, but we all know life gets busy. Motivation can kind of drop off, and suddenly you find, as a student, you're racing through your homework or kind of skipping homework assignments. And that falls with maintaining skills as well. Math builds on skills. So in order to learn new skills, they need to remember the skills that scaffold it. They need those foundational skills, both for, within a course and then for subsequent courses as well. So I think we're all familiar with the problem where, even if students have mastered a skill, there is a chance that they're not continually doing enough math to kind of maintain those skills. So we have solutions for all of those challenges within our courseware, and I'm happy at any point if anyone wants to learn more to talk about that. But today I really wanted to talk about the visualization and conceptual understanding challenge. So we're going to focus on that one, which is where we're investing, like I said, to help students that struggle when they try to visualize the math and understand how it really applies. So I don't know if anyone on the call has used GeoGebra before. They're probably most known for their graphing capabilities, but they do also do a lot of other work visualization. So we've developed graphing exercises, and these are in our MyLab Math, and they're assignable, so students can work through plotting graphs online. So they don't, a lot of in class, you'd use pencil and paper sometimes, but these ones allow them to do the same kind of plotting work online, and there's immediate feedback. The other thing about GeoGebra, and one of the reasons we're working with them, is you don't need a special graphing palette, which is the case with some software you'll see. This one, they can interact with the graph directly, and the exercises have been set up so the students get 3 attempts. And then they receive, like I said, not just a correct or incorrect, but there's additional feedback so students can see, why their answer was correct or incorrect. So really to help reinforce those skills. So the guided visualizations are animated figures. So again, similar, the graphing lets them manipulate graphs, lets them plot graphs. These are figures that change the data points. So it helps them understand the concept. If it looks like this, if I change the data points, then they'll see immediately what that does to the graph or the visual. So in the case I'm showing here, this is slope intercept. So you can change the values. You'll see on the left-hand side, and I'll bring up the live one so we can take a look at it. But when you change the values, you can see basically how the line's going to move. So this is something, like I said, it can be assigned, but it can also be shown in class. So if this is something you're covering as part of your course, you can bring up the interactive in the classroom as well, and show the students exactly how you can manipulate those forms. So I'll just show you in the live environment. So this is what it looks like live. This is, like I said, an example of one of the ones we can do, and you can just use the sliders and you can manipulate the graph. So again, it's just a quick, handy way to illustrate, and it gives the students an idea very easily about how the graphing tool, graphing works, and how they can see the actual equation kind of come to life in that sense. And then we have some more kind of specific calculations depending on the title. So this is an example of what we would call interactive calculations. And so this is an example specifically from our business math text, contemporary business math, Canadian business math, which is our home runner title. And these calculations, you can see the students can basically put in their variables, and then they can it'll draw the graph for them. So they can literally see the plot of, where in this case you would start to see profit, given the variables of different types of costs and your selling price. So these are the, instead of manipulating a graph, the students are able to put in those variables. And so if you have numerous problems that you want them to do in this, to do a break-even point analysis, they could do it in this graphing, and then they would be able to have the graph displayed and really illustrate what they're doing. So that's, again, giving the students a chance to manipulate their data and see that visual representation. We also have another one, which is always, my favorite, which is the loan analyzer. So you can basically go in, and it's got the graph, and you can use the sliders, or you can manually input the numbers, and you can change the interest rate. You can, change when it compounds. You can make all of the, when are we making payments? And then it'll calculate it for them, and it'll change the graph as well. So that's another example of an interactive calculation. And this sits basically is assignable in MyLab in the multimedia library, but it also sits in the text itself. So when the students are reading about things like break-even point analysis, or when they're reading about loan calculation and interest, then the interactive figure will appear right integrated into the text, and they can go through and kind of try one of the example problems in it, or put in their own numbers. Okay, so those are kind of the interactive figures that are kind of the basic calculation and graphing, which kind of brings those concepts to life. We do have some more dynamic images. These tend to be in our calculus sections, especially because when you're animating something like level curve speed. So this example is from one of our calculus titles, but we do have these as well, where students again see kind of that three-dimensional figure that's dynamic, and then they can put in their equations and their value and their variables, and they can see the figure change again right in front of them. So again, these are integrated right into the title. So when they're reading about the concept, they can go and do this immediately. So they can work with those values, so they can see the impact. They can also click on these images and move them around, so see them from different angles and change their perspective as how they want to view the image. So those are those animated interactive figures. We've also added, to help support students, we're adding new video series to MyLab Math. So this is one we have for college algebra and pre-calc courses right now. We're also going to be adding them for tech math. And we have videos in our business math as well. So the idea with these videos is, again, level setting. Students might not remember how to do a specific concept or topic. So it really focuses on covering those essential topics that students need to understand. So, when they need to put what they're reading into action, especially if they maybe don't have confidence that they remember it, or maybe they didn't learn it in the first place. So where there might be gaps in a student's skill set, we've really focused on having these videos to cover what students need to know, where the author is walking students through how to do the skill. The videos are short. They're only about 3 to 5 minutes in length. And again, they're assignable. So if you can see in your analytics a student is struggling, you could actually, assign the video, or maybe the whole class is struggling, that happens as well. You could actually assign the video as something that they can review in their own time. So, we've gotten good feedback on these, that they work well when students use them alongside the exercises in MyLab Math. So if they see an exercise and, they're struggling, this is, a reinforcement of the concept for them. Okay, and this is just, I wanted to mention, we have 30-minute webinars, so really short webinars that are run by faculty, authors, sometimes some of us that work for Pearson, and they make evidence-based recommendations for hybrid classrooms is one of them we had recently. And then, there's other ones that talk about students effectively learning from videos. So if you haven't used video content in your course before, in your course before, and you want to kind of learn a little bit more how you can use it effectively, we have a webinar on that. So these, we have them live, but then they're also on demand. So if one, you can't make one, or you want to go back and look at one that's already happened, these are available, and you can just, message me, or the link is there as well, where you can find the webinars. So you can sign up, or you can look at those that have already happened. We've also have them for, you'll see introductory statistics. We just did one yesterday on using applets. So this is just something we offer a little bit of, PD for anyone who's interested in any of these topics and wants to learn a bit more on their own time. Like I said, they're 30 minutes, so they're really short, and they're pretty much to the point. But if you are interested in learning anything more, you can let me know. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. But I will let Melody, if you want to let me know if there are any questions that we should bring to the attention of the group.
Yeah, actually started typing, but we can answer it live since we're finished here. So the question was around, is it possible for professors to edit these materials or input their own questions? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure, okay. Sure. So not yet. It's not part exactly of the custom question builder, because we pre-create a lot of these we try to make them, accept as many variables as possible so that when you're working with them, if you want to use them in class, you can put in like your own examples. Our hope is that we will be able to make some of these part of our custom question builder. And honestly, like if you have an example that you don't see in the title that you think would be useful overall, let me know, because these are, we're kind of continually developing these, I would say. So we kind of do, an initial kind of development when we revise the title. But then we are looking at where we can add more. So if there are ones that, you don't see that you think would be useful, or if you've experienced working with GeoGebra, so you've maybe already created it, you can let us know, and we can look at having that one as part of our title as well. So we're really working on developing like a library of these kind of figures that can be used with our titles, but we don't have the full customization in quite yet.
Perfect. And the next one from Natalia, are there interactive graphs for statistics, histograms, bar charts, pie graphs?
Yeah, so we're working on adding those for the titles. They're not there for statistics yet, but they are on the roadmap. So we will be creating again kind of a library of interactives for stats as well.
And then last one from Chris, are there interactive graphs for trig? So I think kind of same answer there, right?
Yeah, so we're building out the library. So we have it for college math, we have it for pre-calc, we have it for algebra. We obviously started with graphing, like linear algebra was the place that we kind of started with a lot of the graphing. But we're building it out for the math titles. So you'll see more coming. But again, if you have suggestions, if you're using one of our titles and you have a suggestion about where you'd find it helpful to have figures, please connect. And definitely I'm happy to have that conversation. Like I said, it's something we've kind of done an initial build, but this is an area we're continuing to invest in. So if you have suggestions about where you would find this helpful, or where you would use this with your students, we're very, very happy to have that conversation. Okay, I guess any other questions?
Don't see any other coming through. I'll just take a quick scroll and make sure I didn't miss anyone here.
And I don't know if anybody has any questions that they want to come off mute. You're welcome to as well. Okay.
And that's it.
We're good. All right. So I guess I'll say thank you for your time today. And yeah, if there's anything that anyone wants to follow up, you can certainly email me. So you'll see in the recording of the presentation my name. So it's just my name, Katherine.baker-ross@pearson.com. And you can reach out and connect if you would like to have any further discussion about any of the stuff that we're doing with interactive figures or MyLab Math in general. I'm always happy to talk to anyone about that. And with that, I guess I will pass it back to Lisa.
Great, thank you so much. I'm just going to post that. I just posted that link to the events page because there's some really interesting sessions that people might be interested in, especially the, I for one, where our school's going back in winter time, and all our classes will be hybrid, and so the evidence-based recommendations for hybrid classrooms will be interesting. So anyway, I posted that link so people can get right to it. Thank you everybody for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session that starts at 10 o'clock. Thank you.